The triple braided cord in our logo references the three main stakeholders we feel responsible for at American Truckers United: the American truck driver community, the American motoring public, and safe American trucking companies doing things the right way and adhering to all of the DOT and FMCSA regulations. I have been around American truck drivers all my life. My mom and dad's drivers carried me in diapers. They taught me how to drive a vehicle. They have fed my family for 3 generations. For the last several years, I have witnessed the American truck driver community's wages being stolen from them through wage dumping via replacement migration. If our industry had not been invaded by the rapid influx of foreign, unvetted trucking capacity in the last several years, over-the-road company drivers today would be making between $100,000 and $120,000 a year. But because of this wage dumping through replacement migration, the average American company driver still is only making around $60,000 a year. And with the past 3 years of hyperinflation on most of the essentials that families must buy today, I would submit that American truck drivers have actually suffered a net wage decrease and therefore are currently suffering through a lower standard of living disproportionate to most other Americans in the workforce. Another cord and very important stakeholder that we feel responsible for at American Truckers United is the American motoring public. For decades, all of us have assumed that when we are on the roads next to a big truck, we are driving next to someone who has been properly trained and has gone through the American CDL vetting system. We also assume the company that they drive for is adhering to all of the DOT and FMCSA regulations, or they would not be allowed to be on the road operating. Very sadly, today, this is not the case. Unfortunately, there are thousands upon thousands of foreign truck drivers on our roadways that have not been properly trained nor properly vetted and do not possess American CDLs. Our research team has compiled crash data that shows a dramatic increase in fatality and injury accidents caused by commercial drivers without CDLs over the last several years. Many of these drivers were not able to read or speak English and could not even submit a statement for the officers working the accident. Our crash victim advocacy group was formed to protect the victims of these crashes and to ensure that they or their families get the maximum amount of compensation due to the gross negligence committed by the companies employing unqualified drivers while breaking the hours of service laws and other regulations. Lastly, the third cord and stakeholder that we are fighting for at American Truckers United is American trucking companies employing Americans that are adhering to the last 30 years of regulations and upholding the safety practices that have made our American trucking industry safer than ever before prior to this recent foreign influx of unsafe actors. We understand that the American trucking companies employing Americans have a certain cost structure while operating safely. We also understand that these foreign actors have a cost structure that is about 40 to 50 cents per mile cheaper because of the slave wages they are paying to their foreign drivers and the amount of miles they are able to put on their trucks because of regularly breaking the hours of service and many other regulations. Many people don't understand the amount of market policing and self-policing that has gone on in the trucking industry over the last several decades. Carriers have operated for the last 30 years under the constant threat of an active and present Department of Transportation coming into our offices for audits if we got out of line. We have been policed by customers demanding high safety standards and only satisfactory safety scores if we wanted to haul their freight. We have been policed by the insurance markets, telling us that if we don't operate safely and keep our claims low, our insurance will become unaffordable, putting us out of business. And we have been policed by the court systems and the effects of nuclear verdicts. All of this market policing created a massive movement of self-policing by the majority of the established high-performing American trucking companies. The ability to maintain good safety scores in our industry reached a whole other level in 2010 with the implementation of the CSA. CSA stands for Compliance, Safety, and Accountability. That carrier scoring system was much more comprehensive and much more difficult to navigate than all of the years previous. This put another increase on the time, money, and resources carriers had to be willing to invest in to maintain good safety scores. In more recent years, our industry has been further regulated with electronic logbooks, which put the investment in the new technology solely upon the carriers. Another recent improvement in regulation was the creation of the Drug Testing Clearinghouse. Now, drivers that fail a drug test have no way of hiding from our industry. But unfortunately, it's another report that carriers have to pay for. Over time, all of this regulation achieved, in my opinion, its goal, a very safe American trucking industry. Because of the decades of regulation and policing, today, good American carriers diligently police themselves every day. Today, many American carriers have invested in robust safety staffs, safety mitigation systems with lane departure and rear-end accident avoidance technology, and cameras on all of their equipment. They've implemented policies to ensure that we are doing everything possible every day to be the safest fleet we know how to be. Industry safety professionals will tell you safety is a culture, and the culture must be worked on every day. We are told by our associations and our insurance companies and plaintiffs' attorneys, the best defense you can have in a courtroom is to be able to truly tell and prove the story that we are a company that is doing everything we know how every day to be as safe as we can be. Unfortunately, every time there has been a new regulation implemented or a new higher standard of safety achieved in our industry, it has always come with an increased cost to the carriers. Unfortunately, the foreigners that have been allowed to flood our industry in recent years were not in our country during the decades where we were all trained into self-policing and having a mind frame of safety every day. In fact, some of these foreign actors come from countries where normal business practices would be considered highly illegal here in America. And when I talk about the American carriers that have been left to bleed in this current environment, I am talking about the majority of the safe American trucking companies that are operating under the cost structure that comes with the safety standards achieved in the American trucking industry over the last several decades, and the foreign newcomers who have no regard and in some cases no knowledge of our safety standards and have a completely different and much cheaper cost structure. To all you other trucking company leadership and ownership out there, please come visit us at americantruckers.com.